They say, if you want to go fast, get a Mercury, but if you want to go home, get a Yamaha. Well, we think that's apt for today's topic. If you're buying a big center console for the 2026 season, something in the 40 to 60 foot range, you're probably eyeing some of the latest outboards. And no outboard makes jaws drop faster than the Mercury 600 Verado V12. At over 1,200 pounds and upwards of $85,000 a pop, this is the most powerful production outboard money can buy. But here's the real question. Is it worth it today? We're cutting through the marketing and looking at what you actually get for that price. Performance, fuel burn, maintenance, reliability, what's changed since it launched, and what hasn't. Whether you're building a Dream Center console or just curious if all that hype holds up, we're breaking it all down. So what exactly is the Mercury 600 V12 and why has it caused such a stir? Well, it's not just about raw horsepower, though yes, at 600 horsepower, this is the most powerful outboard Mercury has ever produced. What makes it special is how it combines a steerable gear case, dual contra-rotating props, and a 2-speed transmission, all in one outboard. First, there's the steerable gear case. This is a game changer. Unlike traditional outboards, where the whole engine pivots to steer the boat, the 600 V12 stays fixed. It's only the lower gear case that turns. That means tighter spacing on the transom, with center-to-center engine installs as close as 27 inches, more room, cleaner rigging, and a sleek profile when you're underway. Then there's the 2-speed transmission, the first ever found in a Mercury outboard. At low speeds, it uses a lower gear ratio to help heavy boats get on plane quickly. Once you're up and cruising, it shifts to a higher gear for better fuel efficiency. And the best part? You rarely feel the shift. It occurs automatically and smoothly, with minimal noise or interruption in power delivery. And of course, the contra-rotating dual propellers. These props are mounted on concentric shafts and spin in opposite directions, improving water grip and balancing torque, so each engine offsets its own twisting force. Unlike setups that require mixing clockwise and counterclockwise engines for balance, each 600 V12 handles this internally. Altogether, this engine isn't just for speed, about moving big boats effortlessly, smoothly, and in shallower water than traditional inboards or stern drives allow. That's why you're seeing it on massive center consoles and even 50-foot yachts. And with its ability to reduce the number of engines needed, going from 5 or 6 smaller outboards to 2 or 3 of these, it's not just about performance. It's about reducing complexity and maximizing usable space at the stern. Let's talk about what this engine gets very right and why some builders and owners are all in. First off, performance. Boats that were once stuck in the mid-40s or 50s for top-end speed are now comfortably running in the 60s, even fully loaded. We're talking 50-foot boats pushing 40,000 plus pounds. One example is Formula's 500 SSC. It's a 50-foot luxury sport cruiser, and with quad 600s, tops out close to 68 miles per hour. That's wild for a boat of that size. Then there's fuel efficiency, especially in cruise. That 2-speed transmission helps get the boat up and out of the hole quickly, so you're not wasting fuel trying to plane. Once you're up and running, it shifts into that taller gear, and you're cruising at lower RPMs with less burn. When matched correctly to the hull, these motors are burning about the same fuel as similar boats with multiple smaller outboards, about 1 mile per gallon. The V12 Verado delivers its full 600 horsepower on standard 87 octane fuel, making it more convenient and cost-effective than many high-performance marine engines that require premium gasoline. Another advantage is space. Because the motors don't swing side to side, Mercury was able to reduce the space between them. That gives boat builders more freedom on the transom, whether it's for a full-width swim platform, easier boarding access, or just cleaner aesthetics. And remember, the fewer motors you need, the more cabin and storage space you reclaim inside the boat. And it's not just builders who benefit. Owners are noticing quieter operation, smoother handling, and less vibration at cruise. The dual props help with that, and so does the fixed powerhead design. Noise testing showed the V12 runs at significantly lower decibels under load than comparable setups with traditional outboards. Finally, and this is big, routine services like oil and gear case fluid changes are done through a top-mounted hatch, streamlining maintenance for owners and crews. When Mercury first released the 600 horsepower V12 Verado in 2021, skepticism came standard. This was, after all, a radically new engine, V12 architecture in an outboard, a two-speed automatic transmission, steerable gear case, and dual contra-rotating props. That's a lot of firsts packed into a single unit. And any time that much innovation hits the market all at once, boaters understandably wonder, how reliable is this thing really? Now that we're a few years in, a clearer picture has emerged from both owners and marine techs. The results? A mix of jaw-dropping performance, pleasant surprises, and a few points of caution, especially around maintenance expectations. Let's start with reliability. Mercury has stood behind the V12 with a 3-year standard warranty, extendable to 5 years with Mercury product protection. But more importantly, field data from builders like Formula, Contender, and HCB, who've collectively sold hundreds of boats equipped with these engines, suggests the V12 is holding up well under real-world usage. In a 2023 follow-up interview with BoatTest.com, several builders reported fewer service calls and warranty claims than expected. The steerable gear case and transmission, initially viewed as potential problem areas, have turned out to be surprisingly robust. In fact, some technicians argue the steerable lower unit has reduced wear and tear in multi-engine applications, thanks to smoother steering forces and reduced lateral torque loads across the bracket. Then, there's the two-speed transmission. At launch, critics warned this could be a liability. More moving parts meant more that could break. But so far, it seems to be one of the most appreciated features by captains and crews. The V12 automatically shifts from low to high gear around 3,800 RPM. The result is better hole shot without sacrificing cruising efficiency. And because it's fully electronic and self-contained, there's no shift lever or external mechanical linkage to worry about. As of now, there are no widespread failure patterns related to the transmission itself. However, there were some early, isolated reports of shift actuator issues and propeller seal problems during the first few production years. Mercury quickly addressed these with updated components and service bulletins, and those issues have not persisted in later models. Still, the V12 isn't maintenance-free. Mercury recommends changing both the engine oil and gear case fluid every 200 hours. Routine service items, including access to the oil filter, dipstick, and gear case fluid, are handled via a dedicated top service hatch, so the main cowl doesn't need removal for basic maintenance. The steerable gear case reduces the bulk of external hydraulic steering gear, giving the boat a cleaner transom and a sleeker look while underway. That said, servicing a 600 horsepower V12 is not a DIY project for most boat owners. The complexity of Mercury's digital smartcraft controls, along with the electronic shifting and advanced sensors, requires factory-trained technicians and Mercury-certified tools. And that can mean higher labor costs, especially in remote areas where certified Mercury support is limited. If you're used to turning wrenches on your twin 250s in the driveway, this engine represents a different world. Another consideration is parts pricing. Replacement lower units and control modules for the V12 are significantly more expensive than traditional outboards. That's to be expected with flagship tech, but it's worth factoring into ownership costs. Fortunately, most of the early buyers, owners of $1.5 to $3 million boats, understood this from the outset. Let's talk about usage. The V12 isn't being installed on typical family center consoles. This is a motor for 40 to 70 foot Mac Daddy offshore fishing center consoles. Boats like HCB, the New Queen custom boats, the Valhalla V55, and even the Dutch-built 54-foot Laguna by Chaser Yachts from the Garlington Landerveer legacy. and the HCB 65 Estrella, which is currently the only production boat marketed as being equipped with 600 V12 outboards, unlike the Scout 670 LXS, which boasts being the largest center console in the world, but only has 5. In most cases, these boats run quad or quint V12s, and they're being used hard. Extended runs, Bahamas crossings, tournaments, charters, you name it. So far, these applications confirm the V12's core promise: impressive low-end torque in a lighter, outboard format, with better hole shot, cruise speed, and more usable transom space. Builders report that customers who previously spec'd 5 or 6,450Rs or Yamahas are switching to triples or quads of the 600, simplifying maintenance and increasing fuel efficiency. Speaking of fuel, what's real-world usage like? We gave you a hint earlier, but data varies by hull and weight. For triple 600s on a 50-foot boat cruising at 38 knots are seeing around 0.8 to 1 miles per gallon. That's solid performance for that size and weight class. And thanks to the 2-speed gear case and dual props, efficiency in the mid-range, 3,500 to 4,200 RPM, is among the best ever recorded for outboards of this scale. Noise levels also deserve a mention. Multiple test reports and owner reviews point out how remarkably quiet the V12 is, even at speed. This is due in part to the engine's massive block being acoustically insulated and the reduced vibration from contra-rotating props and smoother shifting. On large boats, the difference is night and day for passengers sitting near the stern. Of course, no outboard is without its quirks. Because the V12 doesn't pivot at the powerhead and only the lower unit steers, some captains report a learning curve when maneuvering in tight spaces, especially when paired with joystick controls. The system is responsive but different from traditional outboards. Training and familiarity smooth this out, but it's worth mentioning. Bottom line, the Mercury V12 Verado has earned its spot atop the outboard food chain. While time will always be the final judge, early data suggests this is not a one-hit wonder or fragile flagship. It's a legitimate replacement engine for high-end marine platforms. Just know what you're buying. This isn't an engine for everyone. It's an outboard for serious offshore runners who want the most advanced tech money can buy and don't mind spending it. So, are Mercury 600 really worth the money? Well, that depends on what kind of boat you're running and what kind of experience you're after. To recap, if you're running a 40 to 60 foot performance cruiser, sport fish, or high-end center console, and your goal is to maximize top-end speed, mid-range efficiency, and usable deck or cabin space, there's really nothing quite like the Mercury V12. It's still the only production outboard on the market offering a 2-speed transmission, steerable gear case, and dual contra-rotating props, all in one package. The steerable gear case alone solves a problem that's plagued large outboard setups for years. By keeping the powerhead fixed and steering only the lower unit, Mercury allows these massive motors to be much closer together. That's game-changing for multi-engine layouts. On quad or triple setups, you can free up serious transom real estate, giving designers more room to build in fishing features, aft seating, or swim platforms. And Mercury isn't exaggerating where performance is concerned. Multiple builders report top-end speeds in the mid to upper 60s on boats over 50 feet long, a performance level that previously meant a large number of smaller outboards. On certain heavy offshore platforms, quad or quint outboards are still common, but in the performance cruiser segment, moving from 5 or 6 smaller motors to double or triple V12s is now the norm. Instead, you're getting faster hole shots, smoother cruise at lower RPMs, and the ability to plane with less throttle, which helps fuel economy and onboard comfort. Now let's talk longevity and risk. For buyers who are waiting to see how they would do 4 years in, the verdict is increasingly clear. These motors are holding up. They've earned praise for low vibration, easier maintenance, and tighter integration with joystick and digital helm systems. Yes, they are complex, and yes, they are expensive, but they were never aimed at the entry-level boater. This is a premium propulsion option for premium boats. Mercury also seems committed to standing behind the product. Serviceability has been streamlined, the warranty remains competitive, and there haven't been widespread reports of systemic failures. That's critical, especially for a brand that had to fight through some earlier skepticism in the high-performance outboard world. So if you're looking at a build in the 1 million plus range, or repowering a vessel where space, noise, and modern tech are concerns, the 600 V12 is more than just a flex. It's a practical upgrade that in many cases lets you do more with less. Fewer motors, fewer holes in the transom, better packaging, and potentially lower maintenance over time. But if you're running a smaller boat, or if simplicity and proven track records matter more to you than innovation, options like Yamaha's 425 XTO or even twin Mercury 300s may still make more sense. The Mercury 600 is not for everyone, but for the boats it was built for. It's quickly becoming the default. And that's where this story lands. Not as a maybe, but as a yes, if it fits your boat, your budget, and your goals.